How's it going, everyone? Uh, I was sort of late getting the announcement out, so bear with me on that. Okie doke. Um, Let me see here. Chat. Hey, Rancher. To- Rancher, is the sound in the video okay? Everything working right? Hi, Brian. Oh, it's Hi, Dom. Good to see you. Junior, hi. Oh, Abdul, how you doing? Hi, Key. Bobby, hello. Okie doke. Um, yeah. Oh, I figured by now we'd be tired. Now relatives are good. Hey, Junior. Hi, Philip. David. Okay. As usual, Rancher came up with some good topics for today, and the one that hang on a second. There we are. Okay. And I caught myself getting upset and began laughing at myself. Hey, where is my free content? Oh boy. Speaking of which, I got to get my watch on. One of the things, I don't know if this is a trend or not, is it's sort of partially one, and I think this is what is, I think, important is that the insistence on in-house movements has, I think, for some companies, I think it's still there, and I think it's not a bad thing. Basically, if you go from a cheap movement to save money and make money to an in-house one that costs more but isn't much better, or maybe sometimes it's not even as good, this might be something that seems to have left. In other words, basing it on the quality of the movement and not the quality of whether or not it's in-house. I don't know. I see that fading somewhat. Now there's again, it depends on what segment of the watch collection group you're in. In other words, if this is sort of like, where's my next Rolex coming from, it probably wouldn't matter. On the other hand, if it's somebody who's really looking for a good watch and doesn't want to spend a lot of money, but ends up can get an excellent watch, then recognizing some really excellent movements in watches that aren't going to put together an in-house movement at all ever, because they don't want to. What they want is that they want to have a case and a design and all of that, a dial and so forth. That's their own. And as long as they have a good movement, they're happy with it. Now, I don't know what segment of the watch collectors that makes up. I have a feeling it may not be as high as I'd like to think, but it's higher than I originally thought. So it seems like people are saying, wait a minute, these guys have, it's not an ETA, it's a X, Y, or Z, and they make really good movements. For example, Vaucheur's in a lot of watches now that they've been elevated. These guys make the same movements as Parmigiani. They're all owned by the Sandoz Family Foundation. Anyway, so it seems that the trend is sort of gone like this, is that at one point it was nobody really cared too much about what was in their watches, and then it went to the point where if it's not in-house, it's no good. And I think it's now been modified to some extent, is that a good movement's a good movement, doesn't matter who's using it. Anyway, so what do you guys think of that? Hi, Lee. Hi, Adam. Adam, I'll let you define it, okay? I don't feel like defining it how. Yeah, that's another thing too. Let me mention that the idea that I think it's almost a naive idea, because I don't think it was ever true, and that is, except maybe with Rolex, they claim that they do the metal forging and they do all of this and they do all of that, and I think they have millions out mining gold and digging up iron ore for their watches. But for the most part, oh man, I forgot the name of it. Actually, it's an older trend, but it never left. And I think the reason it never left is that people were so concerned about the term in-house that they decided not to mention the fact that the parts were made by different companies that specialize in that. Now, I think that's important to recognize, not only as here you got some guys in a watch company and they say, okay, we're going to go in-house. I don't think for the most part this includes all of the different parts. I think rather it's the design, and then they have people who are expert in that do it for them. And I believe that's the case. And so, Adam, about in-house, um, I would say in-house is where the design is in-house and the parts are where parts come from. One of the few companies that I know of that likes to make all of their parts is Romain Gauthier. He does all of his parts, and if you look at one of his watches, you can tell his parts. They're the way he has a circular bridge with all of the different gearing connected to the bridge and things like that. But I think that's fairly rare to have that extent, and then because you're afraid that if you have somebody who specializes in that do it, it won't be as good. And I think that trend is actually being recognized. And so if you have a good movement, period, I think the trend has gone from the if you have a good movement, you're better off than sort of an in-house that was cobbled together by some of your engineers or something. I don't know. What are your views on that? Lee, there's nothing wrong with them. They don't scoop it up; they buy it dearly. In-house in the middle of the street. Uh, Seiko also makes all of its. Yeah, that would be another company that would do it. Be Seiko. Andreas Stellar makes a lot of parts for numerous brands. Yeah, good point. That's something else too. If you have, for example, a great example is a lot of tip-top watchmakers like Kerry Boutenlon and MB&F. They use the Straumann hairspring and Straumann balance wheel, and those are generally superior, I think, to what FP Jorn would be using. I think he used Navarox, at least in the 2007 model. I tell you, that thing used to magnetize all over the place. Ever since its latest service, it's in good shape. I think they may have changed either the balance wheel or the balance itself with something that's not quite as attracting every magnet in the world. Okay, planet Earth. I know you are not into quartz. Any thoughts on Grand Seiko 9F quartz? It's a quartz watch. That's my I don't care what they call it. A quartz is a quartz. It's like if the only thing that we were concerned about was accuracy, we would have never moved away from quartz because quartz was from the get-go better than purely mechanical watches. It always has been. And I don't think a lot's going to change that now with the smartwatch, or even more so, because those things can have an internet link into an atomic clock or something like that. And it's always adjusting the time to the perfect time. But I don't think that, I mean, quartz is, if you want an accurate watch, get a quartz. That's about all I can say about it. Now, if that's if that's the main criteria, get an Apple Watch if you really want something really, really good along those lines. But I don't think accuracy has been more a measurement of the quality of the movement and the entire design rather than how super accurate it is. In other words, it's not like a quartz. But yeah, Seiko makes. They have the spring drive, and they got a lot of other things that are using quartz. They recognize that, and if you want quartz, you can get quartz. Okay, what do you got here? Oh yeah, the unlimited limited editions. Have they stopped that? Hey, Abdul. But from an artistic and individual point of view, in-house movements are more interesting. How so, Abdul? Hey, Dominic. Springs, hairsprings, balance wheels, hands, indices are commonly outsourced. Yeah. Um, I think to get the most out of a watch, I mean, if you think about it, you have these, and this goes way back. I mean, this is olden days, sort of pre-quartz days, where you had all of these little outfits making watch parts who specialized in it. And they had all of the machinery and the expertise and everything else. Now, somebody decides they're going to put something together really quick. One of the more interesting ones in doing that is Tag Heuer. Tag had a they had a big deal about this totally automated system, and they still didn't come out with a movement of their own. They had, or at least they didn't have one that was very viable. So, who's to say? Who's to say on that? Yeah, Abdul, though, how much of them, to how many of the ones, the in-house ones, are actually totally by the watchmaker? Most of these guys, including um, Roger Smith, they never made it their own hairspring. They relied on somebody else's. I don't know which one they relied on, but they couldn't figure. I mean, given everything that Roger Smith does, you'd think that that was, he had all of these different things, and that was one thing he's never able to do. Either that or didn't want to spend the resources on it. I don't know which it would be. I think the resource would be in time working that out. Oh, okay. Hey, Tuna, how you doing? Yeah, yeah. If you want, to me, the coolest quartz movement is F.P. Journe's Elegante. That one, the interesting thing about it, not only did he make the movement himself, he also added this little device that would turn off the main power on it so that the battery would last longer. Originally, the battery was supposed to last 50 years. I, I don't think it quite made it that long, but what a great idea you're using it. And then he put a little, put a little, it looks like what did it look like? It's a little rotor. And when the rotor stopped for half an hour, then it would sort of turn off the electrical part that would turn the hands and do some of the heavier work. But it was able to keep enough power in there that would use hardly any, that would then move the time along. And so that was sort of an interesting thing, not because it was quartz, but rather because it had an interesting innovation. Yeah, Abdul, I don't, I think I would rather have a watch. They can call our stuff in house. Doesn't bother me a bit what they call it, as long as they have a good movement. Now, if you have a movement made by, oh gee, there's a French term. Abdul, you know French, or somebody knows French. It's a French term for the having all of these little parts come together, that was referred to the process of watchmaking. Yeah, I agree, Don. Hey, William, good morning. If the watchmaker makes the parts of the movement and creates tools to construct the movement, but source the hairsprings or something. Yeah, but some of them, they source the gears, the the balance wheel, the balance, the escapement, all of the little gears that go into that. Now, what they've done is it's in-house insofar as they've designed it, and then they send out the orders for these different parts. So the I don't think I wouldn't give it too much weight about being in-house or not if they do the design and the ultimate construction of the movement. So if you have a box of gears and the gears are part of a design that you've created, and they send you this box of gears, so to speak, and you put it together. I mean, when I say you, the watch company puts it together. I think, you know, I would say probably the majority uh, of the watchmakers do that. There's trying to think. One I think that does just about all of that is Demier. They're part of Beauvais, and they do their own hairspring. And what happened? Pascal uh, put a sort of created the Beauvais, what is it called, 1822, by buying up some of these different companies that already did that. And so a group of them he called Demier. And Demier, so they were already set to make certain things. And that would be another one that might, to me, is it in-house? Sure it is. But is it that important? Um, like I said, I'd rather see a watch movement by Vasseur or Crenode, one of them. They have because they do such a good job. I mean, if you can't make a watch movement, if either you don't have the resources, or you can't, or it would break you to do that. Why not? As long as they're good quality movements. That was that I think is an important consideration. Okay, let's get something else, guys. What is another trend that you're happy to see go? Oh, is it? Let's see. Where is it? Laurent Ferrier is an in-house, but uses La Fabre. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Um, yes, the good point, Adam. La Fabre des Temps. Now they're part of LVMH. That's another one. Let me have one. I think. Let me provide another one. I think is important. That's coming. Um, it seems like every week the New Yorker magazine has a watch for sale, some brand or another, and for the most part, it's been Rolex and Omega and things like that. But they had one. They had an LVMH watch, and they La Fabricate that watch company. um, so okay, would you call the Nomos Alpha in-house, the bridges, jewels, escapement? I don't know. That's a good one. HRM. What about that? Here you have Nomos was using the 7001, the Pazoo 7001 that became the ETA 7001, and then it came out with the Alpha. Now this is something that's important. If you look at where they switched from uh, the ETA 7001 to the Alpha, you will see that they did not indicate that the Alpha was in-house. Since then, they sort of decided it is, because I think they changed a couple of things. But yeah, that's an interesting one, because basically that is that they took somebody else's movement design and made it for themselves and then renamed it to Alpha. That's sort of an interesting thing. But the DUW that Nomos makes, I think, are all considered to be true in-house. But by in-house, again, if we're using the design and the construction of the movement, the whole movement, as being in-house, that's okay with me. The Alpha would be an example of sort of a little too close of copying. Okay. Um, Mr. Start, I am happy. Well, we can rewind it for you. All right. Oh boy. Needs a crash course on all of the French and German pronunciations in the watch world. No kidding. I do. The thing is, I'm terrible at it because I can't hear with a bean, and so it's like, like somebody says, blah, 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 and so I have to really work on it to get something right. I got one of the early Alpha models with the full house in-house escapement. Early on, they still use the Swiss escapement. It's pronounced Blancpain. I know that. That's one thing I know. Okay. Hey, Eric, how you doing? The trend I would like to see go, is the collaboration thing. Oh, Jesus, yes. The I mean the deal between Marvel Comics and Audemars Piguet. It just doesn't seem Audemars Piguet is the right choice on that. Um, and you got cosplay characters; they like it, but that's an expensive watch. So, yeah, that's true. Well, listen, I have the official timekeepers telling me I got to go. Listen, guys, this was a little more complex than I thought it was going to be, but thank you because you brought up a lot of really good points. And I think that's great. So anyway, take care. As they say, I knew Spanish pretty well. Hasta la vista. Take care. Oh, hey, yeah. This afternoon we'll have another one for what we can portend for 2004.